Hello, everyone, and welcome to Twillow Talk. I am Tanys Coughlin from the Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy, and I am joined by my beautiful co-host, Jennifer Jurkofsky. Please tell everybody what you do.
Sure. I am Jennifer Jurkofsky with Twillow Lifestyle, as well as my holistic self-counseling. I am a registered psychotherapist, certified Canadian counselor, intuitive life coach, Reiki master, Ugly master, Nocti practitioner, ordained minister, Sufi Al Kahina. I don't know why I'm going through the list today. I don't normally go through it, but
That's okay. It's good. Every so often we need to go through our list.
Exactly. Yeah. There we go.
Awesome. And I'm a Reiki master, Celtic Shamanic High Priestess. I am a crystal master, aqua master, Nocti master. What else do I do? Oh, I'm a channel and an oracle. And so we are super thrilled to have you all here today. And we are looking forward to sharing with all of you. So, as our usual modus operandi, we pick a card from this deck, Diana Cooper and Greg Stewart, and we talk about it. So, we're getting low on the cards because this is actually our last show of the year. So, I wore red just for that. So, last show until January. So we'll be rejoining the lives likely the second week in January. So we're looking forward to having you back then. And the holiday season brings so many different things with it, right? And we've had a whole lot of solar storms. I heard we've had like 20 or something in the last little bit. And so this is part of why everybody is feeling a little weird. So I actually had spells over the weekend where I was like almost dizzy because of the amount of frequency that we were pulling through. I know that physical pain has been higher for many because of that. Lots of people with headaches and stuff like that. Some stomach on and off because we tend to get the energetic, we receive a lot of energetics in our stomach. That's that gut feeling that we get. And so yeah, it's intense. And of course we've got the collective, right? Christmas it's not all fun depending on who you are and where you're at. And just because it's the holidays, and I shouldn't say just Christmas because this is holiday season, right? Almost all beliefs I think has something within this month, like from the middle of December to the middle of January or something.
It's a couple of years ago, and it was like there's like 30 some different holidays that happen in the course of even just like little things. I'm like, holy moly! When we say holidays, there's a lot of them.
There are, yeah. I mean, we talk about Christmas being one, but it's there's only a small percentage of the population of the world that actually celebrates Christmas, right? There's all these other ones that people celebrate, and so you can celebrate more than one. We could celebrate the whole month. I think that's a good idea. We should everybody should celebrate everybody else's holidays with them, and then we're all celebrating all month. I think it's a great idea. The more joy and celebration we can bring in, the better.
Yeah. Well, and it's so beautiful that you bring that up too, because as of tomorrow in human design, we're moving into gate 10, which is the behavior of self. And what's really cool about that is it's about empowering others, right? And so on the shadow side, we're looking at, blaming or feeling like we're being blamed, and having that kind of oppressive kind of feeling with it. But, on the other end, when we're looking at, the energy that this carries, it's like understanding others, right? And understanding their norms and understanding how they show up, and, this ability to kind of, allow expression to have its form and accepting that, and, when we need to, challenging things, but being able to really be more open, right? And allowing, for things to be what they are. And, with that, we get this energy of self-love, right? Because truly, when we're able to love, all around, that love can come home to us. And, so we look at, that kind of transition. If you're looking at the gene keys kind of side of things, it's like moving from self-obsession to this just very natural state of flow, and then coming truly into being, right? And what does that mean? Being able to be defenseless, being able to be just open, and allowing the natural flow of things to happen.
Yeah, and that flow that's not always an easy thing to get into for many, right? And that actually brings us to the card that I picked, because it's expectancy.
There you go.
So our card for this week is expectancy.
Very nice.
So I'll read the card. Expectancy is a powerful magnetic quality that acts at a cellular level to create an outcome. It enables your intentions and beliefs to manifest. However, your focus can be negative or positive. So picking this card suggests that you check that your thoughts and attitudes serve your highest purpose and that of others. Your guidance is to align all your imagination, words, feelings, and actions with the result you desire. Expect it to happen. Then detach and accept the outcome, knowing it will be right for you. And the affirmation, my expectations are attuned to my higher purpose.
I love that.
So fascinating. Because expectations are big this time of year. So I find that interesting that we picked that one.
Yeah, but I love the way that the card talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
And normally, you know me, I'm like, wait a minute, back it up. Let's not go here. Y'all are doing this. And, like, I sometimes feel like I'm that, like,
back
yeah,
in here. Just
I
come
know.
back here. Yeah.
I feel like the party pooper that everybody looks at and is like, ugh, Jen's here. She's telling us no again. No, but I loved the way they talked about it. Two key things that really stood out for me. One is aligning yourself with what you want. And this, I mean, when we look at it even from a psychological perspective, and I talk about this with my clients all the time, what is your narrative? What are you playing out, right? And what are you looking for? Because if your narrative is a negative cognition, so let's say it's, I am not good enough, you are going to always be looking for evidence to prove I am not good enough. And you will always find that evidence, right? And so we really have to look at the narrative that we're playing. What are we aligning ourselves to, right? Our thoughts, our feelings, our, story around it. And really changing that narrative into what we want to see, right?
And that's where that self-fulfilling prophecy comes in, right? Because whenever it is what you're looking for, that's what you're noticing. And that's what you create, because that's what we bring forward. So,
and I love that, you with the idea of create, and I love that you did that.
I'm create. It's apparently it's a
we use but because we've talked about like the whole power of now thing and how do we manifest and all that kind of stuff. And it's what's interesting though is, we don't make something out of nothing, right? That's not the way energy works. That's not the way it flows. It ebbs, it flows, it changes. It doesn't create or destroy. Like there's this constant motion, right? And so when we look at it like that, and I love using the example of a car. You go out and you got a new car. All of a sudden, you see that car everywhere. There's no more of those cars on the road than there was the day before, but it's right here. Yeah. It's in the forefront of your thoughts. It's in, everything that you're doing. It's brand new for you. There's excitement around it. So what do you see? That car. Yeah. Right? And that's what it is. It's not that we're making all of this happen. It's just that we're seeing it happen. And our focus is on finding those instances, not on finding other. Yeah. Whatever other is. Right? The other part of it that I loved, detach and accept.
Love detach and accept. How do we do that exactly? Because, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, that is what we're here to learn, is like that sense of detachment. I know when Michelle talks about it, right? It's very much about, well, detaching from the physical stuff.
Mhm.
Because, the materialism stuff doesn't get us anywhere. And that's actually true. That's very true. But it's much easier to say that stuff and say we're detaching than it is to actually do that, because we create these etheric cords that connect us to stuff. And even after a cord cutting, like they get reattached like that if we're not willing to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, there's like the physical stuff is just one layer
Yeah,
of it, and it's kind of like the surface layer,
it
right?
is.
But then
Mm-hmm.
there's so much more to detach from. And I think, okay, let's go back to quantum physics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And entanglement theory, just for a moment, because I like to geek out. So,
That's what
right?
we love about you, Jen.
So, two objects, they pass, right? They cross each other's path, whether they've, connected or just crossed, but either way, there is a connection made, right? And then no matter how far they go from each other, that connection will always be there. Okay. So, on a greater metaphysical level, detachment is not about cutting, right? Detachment is about expectation,
Right.
right? And that's why it's so perfect for this card,
Yeah.
because it's not, yeah, there are cords, and yes, we have to cut them over and over again. And there are some times, like, it's interesting. I was actually talking to my eldest about this and about, detaching, because, we can never not have the experiences that we had.
Mm-hmm.
We can never not have crossed paths with the people that we crossed paths with. It's part of our experience and it's part of our entanglement. It just is,
Yeah.
right? And yet, we don't have to have that entanglement constantly influencing us, right? We don't have to always be thinking about that connection or going back to it or reliving those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the detachment comes, right? It's not even on the physical in that sense. It's very much in our emotional, our psychological, and our spiritual, right? Can I be who I am despite, regardless of, because of whatever you want it to be, the experiences that I've been through,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that detachment piece is so huge, right? Because we have this expectation. And I loved too that the card said, it could be positive or it could be negative,
Mm-hmm. But then
right?
that's that duality thing too,
Yeah, but we
right?
live in it. It is what it is.
Yeah. It's
We
the judgment when
Yeah.
we judge something as positive or
But
negative.
the moment that there's you and there's me, we're in duality.
Yeah.
The moment that there's that and then me, we're in duality. If I say source and I want to connect to source, we're in duality. I mean,
Yeah.
y-
It's the
the way that
polarization, I
our
guess,
language
where that
is,
becomes a thing. When you polarize it, it becomes that way, right? So as
right?
long as we're looking at positive and negative as more of a spectrum, as opposed
Yeah.
to, I
Yeah.
guess.
I mean, dark and light,
Yeah.
they all come from one,
Yeah. Yeah. For
right?
sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, but there can be expectation on either side of that spectrum. We
Mm-hmm.
can expect the worst to happen
Mm-hmm.
and we can expect the best to happen.
It's true.
And either way, if we're attached to that expectation, there's going to be an issue,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You know me, I don't do the whole labels, this is good, that's bad, whatever. And yet, we do really create the life that we live from right here.
Yeah. And people
And
don't realize, a lot of people that I talk to, they don't realize how much we create. Like we are creator beings. That is what we do, right? And a lot of people these days are going through life just kind of like following along, right? And they're not realizing that they're creating subconsciously.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of this know thyself journey, right? Is realizing how much is conscious, how much is unconscious. And the big one about that hits me is that, you know, even by not making a decision, you're making a decision.
Yeah.
You know, and that's always one that I'm like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it doesn't. We are creating our life, whether we want to or not. We're creating our life.
Well, and let's take that a little bit deeper too, because okay, you reminded me of a situation, actually with my partner the other night, and he did something, I don't remember what, and I just kept going about my business, and he's like, "Shut up!" I'm like, "I didn't say anything," and he's like, "Your silence speaks volumes,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Okay, but I didn't say anything." Right?
Yes.
And so on one level, like we know each other well, right? So
Yeah.
knows what my normal kind of patterns and tendencies are. At the same time, you know, if we're on this journey to constantly be checking ourselves, you know, in a moment like that, his assumption that my pattern is what it always is, that's his reality.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just think it's such an amazing thing when we take it to that next level, in that, you know, we can assume so much and never question it.
Well, and that's what we do a lot,
Yeah.
right? And it's funny because the more we can think about that, the more we realize that we are those creator beings and we're creating regularly. And I lost my train of thought on that one. Sorry. Um, yeah, it's gone. Apparently, I'm not supposed to say that. What does come to mind is the lenses that we look through things in terms of that, right? So we make assumptions, and we are, because we're creator beings, we're never the same. This is what it was. We're never the same 2 days in a row. So when we make assumptions about other people, we're assuming they haven't changed. But they change every day because we learn something new every day. We're never the same person 2 days in a row. So when we make assumptions about how things should be all the time, but yet everything else is changing all the time, I mean, that we're always going to have this cognitive dissonance going on, you know. And this is, I'm sure this is a big piece of relationship stuff because people can't talk about this, right?
Nope. Well, and one of the, I laugh because I'm reminded of it. So, you know, with clients, we're working on stuff, right? And if only one partner is working on their stuff and the other one is not working on their stuff, it's not great for the relationship all the time.
No, because you're doing this, right?
Yeah.
It's
And
like a
it's
separation
hard,
energetically.
right? So we talk about this, like, you know, secondary gains and losses. If I work on this and I feel better about this and about myself and about whatever, what does that mean? What else is going to be gained and what might be lost in this process, right? And so, you know, again, when we look at expectation, I think it's really important to be clear about what we hope to achieve in different things. And, you know, and also about what the potential losses in different things.
But, you know, I think like the prime directive of all of us is this evolution that we do as humans. I mean, that is why we're here, is to learn. So when you're here to learn, you're going to evolve, right? You're just evolving. If two people are evolving at different rates, it creates that divide, which is what you were talking about, right? So when you're evolving at different rates, you get this dissonance between the two energy frequencies, and then the cohesion is difficult because like attracts like, right? But we're here to evolve. That is our whole life mission, is to come here and learn and evolve our soul, evolve our being. And so we can't expect ourselves to not. So that's the thing that sort of stuck out there, was like, I was like, well, we can't expect ourselves to not evolve. And so you don't want to, because the other person is not evolving in that scenario that you were talking about, the other person isn't evolving. It's not right to expect the one that is to hold back necessarily
No,
either,
no,
right?
no, not at
And
all.
but that would be the expectation, because even in our modern systems, for instance, right? The idea of, for instance, being with the same person your entire life, that's great if you're both growing at the same rate. But if you're not, I mean, I'm sure that's why the divorce rate is what it is.
Well, I don't even know that it's growing at the same rate. It's just we all have different journeys.
Yeah.
And different paths, right? And so, in one lifetime, they could be very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine what they could be, like over lifetimes of lifetimes. And so if we, look at the journey that we're in here, like I talk about my previous experiences in this life as past lives because they're so radically different.
Yeah.
Right. And we think that, like, you know people talk about how on the spiritual journey it can get lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's very, very true. And yet there is also this component of realizing that we are never truly alone,
Mm-hmm.
and that nothing really begins or ends. But it doesn't negate the human experience of being alone.
Yeah.
Right. It's felt differently. And it's felt differently at every stage along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that that's such an amazingly beautiful thing. But when we put expectation on it, well, I'm supposed to feel this way. Uh-uh. We can't go there,
Mm-mm.
because the moment we do, we limit what we can experience in this moment, right? To whatever that expectation is.
Mm-hmm.
I remember somebody coming to me and they were talking about, wanting to experience something specific. They weren't well and they wanted to experience like love and connection and all of that. But they had a very defined or definitive way that they wanted to experience it. And they were telling me about, all of the different things that were happening to them while they were in the hospital. And they're all, in as I'm looking at it, they're all experiences of connection and being loved and being supported, but they weren't the way the person was looking for it.
Right.
And so they didn't see it. And I think when we talk about expectation and we talk about, being aligned, but also being detached and accepting, that's like such a great example of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we limit what our experience could be because of an expectation, we have to recognize how that can really actually take away our ability to achieve that expectation.
Well, and even that brings to mind too that, the idea that when we manifest, for instance, right? When we say we want, this is like a simplistic example, but say we put it out there into the universe that we need $300 by next week. Okay? If we put that out there, we're limiting ourselves to $300. So why not say, I need $300 or better, or I need to pay this bill or more by next week, and then just release. So the releasing is release the expectation of how I'm going to get that money or how the bill's going to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well,
So
and I think that's the other piece too, right there,
yeah.
is that idea that, I'm going to need money in order to do something.
Yeah.
Why? Right? When I wanted to take my Reiki, and I was like, I feel like I really need to take my Reiki. I was going through like a really hard time. This was many, many years ago. And I was like, okay, God, that's what I say, universe, source, whatever you want to say. If you want me to take this course, you got to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the funds show up, somebody pays for it, I find the money somewhere, somebody gives me some, but it always showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if I left it at, I need this much money to be deposited into my bank account, well, that wasn't gonna happen. Right?
Yeah.
But I mean, and it's in everything. And when we live expecting things to go wrong, they go wrong.
Yeah.
Right? And when we live expecting things to go right, then when things go wrong, it's okay. Right? It doesn't mean that things don't go wrong.
No, and that's always the lens that we're looking at it through. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Are we looking at it through the rose-colored lens, or are we looking at it through the dark glasses? Right?
Yeah.
So,
And this isn't about bypassing. And I want to be
no.
conscious of that too, because I know that that's kind of a thing right now. And a lot of people are talking about that. And that's not really what it's about. We have to allow our emotions to process. We have to allow our experience to happen. But if I have something happen and I'm upset about it,
Mm-hmm.
I could run my narrative of, how horrible I am, or how, unloved I am, or undervalued I am, or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can wallow in that. And then every time there's a little thing that goes wrong, it's going to be like, see,
Yeah.
see, nobody wants to be with me. See, nobody loves me. See, they don't understand how they don't have any value in me. I'm worthless to them, blah, 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 blah. Right?
Yeah.
Or I can go, wow, I'm really upset right now.
Yeah.
This is
And just leave it
hurting,
at that. Yeah.
right? Why does this hurt me so much? Oh, because a part of me has this belief that I'm not lovable. Okay, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Okay. Right? And then I am lovable. I need to love myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now I'm going to look for situations and signs that show I'm lovable. Right? And then they show up and I go, oh, okay. Right? Oh, I didn't see that before.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because now I'm not defining my expectation in the same way.
Yeah.
Right? And it's such a difference. And it's not about bypassing. It really is about, where am I aligning my expectation?
Yeah.
What am I looking for? Because what I am looking for is what I will find.
So where your focus is, where your focus goes, your energy goes.
Yeah.
So are we going to focus, like the whole picture is like this? Are we going to focus on the denser side, or are we going to focus on the lighter side?
Mm-hmm.
You're still in the bubble and you're still feeling the whole thing, but am I going to focus on one or the other?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And it's funny, and I've talked about this with clients before too. There's a meme that went by a while ago, and I took a picture of it and saved it because I just loved it. It's a picture of a cat sitting in a cat carrier, and he's staring at the cage door. And the top of the carrier isn't there.
all about the
Right?
expectation that he's locked in.
Right? Well, and it's about limiting ourselves, right? Because the more we focus on the problem, or as Einstein says, right, the more you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created the problem.
Yeah.
Right? And so the more we focus on the problem, or we expect that the cage door is going to open and that's the only way we can get out, that will be the only way we get out.
Yeah.
Even though all we had to do is go, oh, I can just jump out right here.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And
So that's opening up the realm of possibility. right?
Yeah.
In terms of that. I just want to say a quick hello to Tamara. Thank you for joining us. Great to see you.
Yeah. So if, if we want to really like move into the holidays in a way that feels good, in a way that's open, in a way that honors this 10th gate that's coming for us,
Mhm.
and all of that, a huge piece is going to be detaching from certain expectations, right? And I say certain because some we can have, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to expectation too, if it has to do with anyone else, communicate.
Because we don't have control over anybody else. We only have control over our own actions and reactions. We don't have any control over anyone else. So when we step into the holidays and we start having expectations on other people's behavior, if we're not communicating those expectations and having them buy in to those expectations, it ain't gonna happen.
It's so funny. The Christmas tree. Oh, the joys of the Christmas tree. And I am sure there are plenty of people out there who go, oh my God, the damn Christmas tree. Okay, I get it. So, growing up, the Christmas tree was like the bane of my existence because there was always a fight around putting up the Christmas tree. Whether it was fighting about who was doing it or who was putting ornaments where or whatever. There was always whatever. So I got really excited this year and thought, oh, it'll be so great. The kids and my dad, they can put up the ornaments together. They haven't had an opportunity to do that in a while. That was not what they wanted to do at all. So my youngest wanted to put the tree together because we have my grandmother's and it's lovely. And we putting it together and everything is great. It's like, okay, let's do the ornaments. Nobody was in the mood to do the ornaments, so Mom did the ornaments. And I was like, oh, nobody wants to do the ornaments with me. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, this was my expectation for it to be this like beautiful, fun family event. Nobody else bought into that expectation.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the buy-in piece. Even if you communicate, if they're not bought in, you're not going to get anywhere.
No, but it's such a great example of how we need to detach from our expectation, right? Because just because I had it and had this beautiful vision of what it was going to be like does not make it reality.
So we have our therapy cat joining us, folks.
Oh, yeah.
There she is.
And I'll say hello to Gary, too.
Hi, Gary. Here, I can put this up here so people know what we're doing. There we go. It's our pleasure to do these. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Gary says, hi, kitty.
Yeah. It's my expectation to not always have the butt in my face, but that doesn't happen either.
Happen. No. She doesn't buy into that one.
Yeah. And so really, I think when we talk about it too, and we've talked so much about like humor, right? And just being open and allowing things to be, right? Open and curious. I love that. It's a mantra that I use all the time with clients, right? That's how we detach. It doesn't mean that we're not impacted by it. It doesn't mean we don't have feelings because of it. But the less serious we can take ourselves and we can take situations around us, the better in a lot of circumstances. Not every circumstance, but a good many of them that we experience in our day-to-day lives.
And that's, I find the more that we can realize, like the perfectionism thing is a real killer for that. It's like, it is a challenge. If you expect everything to be perfect, there's that expect word again. It's really hard to not take it seriously. So when you start to realize we're human, and absolutely every one of us makes mistakes, and absolutely every one of us is probably going to make the same mistake more than once, even though we try not to, because we're human, and that's just what we do. the more we can realize that,
Mm-hmm.
the less we need to take it seriously.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. Like, how many times, do we get angry about something and then down the road, we're like, why on earth did that even bother me?
Yeah.
Right? But if we could just
sometimes it's just the energy.
Yeah. Well, there is that too. So the other piece of expectation, if you expect everything to be great and all of a sudden you get whammed with like a feeling or something, it's not necessarily yours.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But you can't expect to not ever feel it. And that's really, really hard too.
Yeah. I mean, we can try doing tubing. We can try, building our energy flow, fluffing our aura, like Jen's shown in other shows. All of those things will help.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're meant to feel something, we're going to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a wake one time and I was, I tubed everything and I was like ready to go in and be like totally, it didn't work. I walked in and it was a very heavy funeral. Person was young and all of that. And I lasted about 7 minutes because I'm like, I felt everybody's stuff. And I could not understand why I felt everybody's stuff. And I came home and I had this conversation with Spirit because I'm like, why? Why? I did all my things. Why? And it was because I was meant to feel it.
Yeah.
Because I work with people with grief and I needed to feel what that was like. And the circumstances around that particular one were unique for me. They were different. And so I needed to feel what the grief was for that because I hadn't had that experience yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about us stepping into the experience. So if we do feel it, even though we've done everything we're supposed to, we need to look at why. Why did we feel it? Why did we react? Why was our expectation that it would be different? Why did I go there with the expectation that I would be protected?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's the detachment and acceptance and why it's so important.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And this is the, again, going back to the bypassing piece, right? It's like the absolute opposite of it. Because instead of making judgments about the feelings and telling ourselves this shouldn't have happened and saying, oh, that person shouldn't have been that way, or I shouldn't have felt this, or blah, blah, blah. It's, okay, this feeling is here, now what?
Yeah.
Right? It's really, truly being present with all of our experiences, right? Whether it's an emotional experience, a somatic experience, a thought experience, whatever it is that's coming up, can I actually be present with it right here, right now?
Oh, I was. I processed all of that. So, and I think that it was not all mine, of course. I mean, some of it was, of course, but it was not all mine. And sometimes that's our job. Like, I think that's the other reason I was there, was to help other people process it because of the amount that needed to be processed in terms of energy.
Yeah.
So,
well, and we've talked about that before too. Like, you go for a drive and you end up in the wrong place, and all of a sudden all this stuff's going on, or you're feeling all these things and you're like, why am I even here? What is going on? Right?
But there's a reason, because we're light workers and we end up in those situations.
Yep.
So
yeah,
that's what happens.
And it's all okay.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the bigger piece, right? Because again, when we were talking about like the labeling earlier, as soon as we have an expectation that this is good and that's bad, we set ourselves up for suffering.
Yeah.
Right? And and I'm not talking about like people who are living in like war-torn situations, or people who are living in, abusive situations, or things like that. But just in our day-to-day, life here, we're looking at, well, sad is bad. I don't want sad. I don't want to cry. I don't want to have tears. Right?
Sometimes I do.
I agree with you, but the narrative, right, is that that's bad. I want to laugh. I want to smile. I want to be happy. I don't want to have to feel these heavy things, right? That's good. And the moment that we have those labels, you don't get to have that moment, like Tanys just said, where the tears flow and it is a beautiful, amazing release that feels so powerful and so grounding, right? But you don't have that if you're saying, well, no, crying is bad.
Yeah. And that's, it's very unfortunate that we do this in our business communities, that we're not allowed to cry. We're not allowed to express emotion. And that's part of why we have disengagement in the workplace. We have presenteeism, where people go to work, but they're really not there. Our sick days and stuff, people use them all, whether they're sick or not. It's because everything is so impersonal. And people just need to be able to be human and be expressive. Because if not, it builds up and we get burnout and we get people angry with each other when it's not even their fault. Like, it's not even that person's fault, but we're taking anger out on somebody that it's not their thing. And it's, if we were allowed to express ourselves more freely in general, not even just in the workplace, but in general, without fear of repercussion, things would be, I feel they'd be a little bit more easy. But I mean, everybody has their own reactions and actions. And so that's where we get the repercussion from, is because people feel things when you tell them something. I mean, that's just how things work. But
again, that's expectation, right?
It is.
I tell you something, and if I expect you to respond in a certain way, that's on me.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, right? Like, it's okay that I'm hurt, and it's okay that you can't receive that. So what do we do with it? Right? If we're really looking at it in a way that we recognize where expectation has a role, if we don't have a mutually agreed upon expectation of how we're going to handle this, then it's not okay for me to expect that if I share something with you, that you're going to receive it well.
Yeah.
Right? And that's hard. And I get it. And going into family over the holidays, that can be really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But if we get to a place where we can be authentically ourselves without expectation of another person truly understanding that or even accepting that, detach, accept what is, holy man, the freedom in that.
Yeah.
Right? I'm crying right now. Don't cry. I don't want you to cry. Tough. Deal with it. I'm crying. You don't like it, you can go. Right? And there are those kind of moments where, it's not that I don't care that the other person can't handle it. I care about them. But if I have to allow this moment for my own emotional release, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Right? And so, we look at life and we have these kind of if this, then that. And yeah, there's a whole lot of that in the world. But how much of it is what we've made happen in our reality in that moment? Right?
Well,
Creator beings.
We're creator beings.
Right?
We create our reality with consciousness or without.
Yeah. Most of the time, unconsciously, we're creating all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Because truly, when emotions take hold, especially when they're really strong emotions that we have a negative connotation to, we talk about, the survival mechanisms that kick in, going into the reptilian mind, having, the nervous system go offline, all of those kinds of things. And all of a sudden, our ability to be authentically who we want to be goes. And our patterns and our biases and all of our experiences and all those other things jump in and take over. right? And so those negative cognitions we were talking about earlier, the I am worthless and I am not lovable and I am no good and I can never do it right. I have to do everything because nobody else does anything. All of them, right? Whatever they are, they take over.
Yeah.
If we don't keep them in check.
Our regular patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So if we talk about the holidays and summing all of this up and expectations.
Yeah. So for me, I think the biggest kind of takeaway of this and dealing with expectation is, if you have an expectation that's really important for you to have met, voice it and get others on board.
Yeah.
Otherwise, put out there what you'd like to see happen. Stay open and curious. Let go of the judgment. And try to just enjoy.
Yeah. And offer others the compassion and love that you hope to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all about that and the forgiveness piece that comes along with it when we don't meet those expectations. Whether that's forgiveness of self because we haven't met an expectation of our own, or whether it's forgiveness of others for not being able to be there to meet your expectation in whatever that is.
Yeah.
We're not saying it's easy.
No. But
and
it
we
is
all do it.
doable.
We all do it and we all don't. Right? Every moment is different. Every moment we have the choice. And it's not always conscious choice. And when it's not, that's when we need to look back and think, okay, how could I have done that differently next time?
Yeah. Well, and on that, going to a place where in yourself you can say, yeah, okay, I went there again and I didn't want to. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
It's okay.
We're a work in progress. We will be our whole time here on earth.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's this lifetime or another lifetime, we're always a work in progress.
Yeah. Yeah. And
that's become my big thing, actually. When something happens, I'm like, oh, well, I'm a work in progress. Tomorrow's another day.
Yeah.
Takes a while to get there. Not always perfect at that either, but we do our best.
Yep.
Triggers come up for everybody.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
And we can't anticipate all of them either.
Mm-mm.
Right? You can't sit there and, again, expectation.
Yeah.
You can't expect that you're gonna always know immediately. Oh, that's one of my triggers. Hold on, let me process that and I'll get back.
Yeah, we don't work that way. Just so you know, we don't work that way.
No, I don't know any human being who's ever done that.
I might know one, but not 100% of the time.
Not in the moment.
No.
Maybe after the fact we might go.
But that's like a habit. It's like creating a habit, right? So when I said we make mistakes more than once, well, we have to get in the habit of how we're going to react, or how we're going to not react, right? Or how we're going to respond instead of react. And getting into habits. I mean, look at how difficult it is to get into a habit with something. Doesn't it take it takes 35 repetitions of something?
Yeah.
To create a habit?
Yeah, originally it was 20, 21 days of whatever to create something out of nothing. But now to untrain yourself of an old habit and retrain yourself of a new one, that's months.
Yeah.
Right?
Or years, depending.
Give yourself,
I mean, we say months, but that's if you're doing it every day,
all
right? And triggers
time.
don't come up every day.
Yeah.
So really, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to forgive yourself for making the same mistake.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Well, and it's so interesting too. And and I say this to clients again all the time. One of the foundational things is, and we've talked about this a lot, is becoming the observer.
Yeah.
Right? If you do nothing else but work on just observing yourself, right? And in this sense, observing your expectation and how it impacts your day-to-day life.
And those around you.
And those around you, for sure. It will do leaps and bounds for you.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're just taking that tiny bit of a step back and going, okay, I'm not my thoughts. I'm not
my
these
emotions.
feelings, right? In this moment, can I go, oh yeah, there's anger. And I always do the breath, and you need to do the breath, right? Find that pause, take that moment. What do I do with it now?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's kind of, and depending on the human design, I know we've talked about this with human design, is that's like riding the wave, right? Where you have to ride the wave and then make the decision, because otherwise, if you do it in the moment, it's almost like you don't have full data.
Yeah. So if you're emotional authority, then you definitely have to ride the wave. It basically, the idea is like, there's no truth in the now. Right. You can't know right here, right now, what something is, because you have to feel the high and the low and everything in between so that you can make a fully informed decision about that thing. If you're a splenic, you got to get out of your head, because all of the thoughts and all of the things that you think you can reason through are going to get in the way of hearing that soft, instant voice in the now that's telling you what to do, that only speaks once and then is like, all right, brain's going to do what it's going to do. I'll check in with you again later. Right? And you could miss it, or self-projected, somebody who has to actually say, this happened to me the other day and this is what I was going through and I feel like this did it. That's how I feel about it. Okay. I just had to hear myself say it to know that that's what's going on. Right? And so we all have these different authorities within us. And, to think like, okay, well, I have to do this because that's what, my family does, or that's what, whatever, that might not be your authority. So now there's this expectation that, well, if I just do this, I should know. Maybe not. Right? Yeah. So again, know thyself. It's so important.
Absolutely. Yeah. So be patient with yourself and others over the holidays.
Yes. And in the new year, and this know thyself, I'm hoping to actually do a bit of a course for human design for anybody who is interested through Twillow.
Awesome.
So hopefully we'll get that going. And I know, Tanys, you've got a bunch of stuff coming up with Twillow in the new year too.
Yeah, we've got, I have my Celtic Shamanic program is starting tomorrow night. Celtic Shamanic High Priestess. It's a year and a day program. It actually starts tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's the initiation into the program. And so that's kind of exciting. And I've got some graduates coming through there on Yule, which is the 21st. And so that's quite exciting. And then we're going to have the channeling class again, which was quite popular in the fall. So we'll run that one again soon. And we've got some magic classes coming up. So that'll be fun. And the monthly enlightenment evening next year. We have more Reiki stuff. We have Aqualead, Nukti. Time to do another Nukti, and a second level for those of you that have taken it. And yeah, there's lots. And then we've got, those are just like mine actually. So there's 9 teachers.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and then we've got essential oils course that we're going to work on, and
we've got the Light Warrior course, which is going to be quite a lengthy one, probably like months to a year, I would say, is likely what we're looking at for the whole thing. We've got a couple of programs that we're working on. So the Twillow transformation track is one that we're working on. So that's going to likely have components from multiple people, multiple teachers. And then we have the what other ones are we looking at? There's the spiritual business program that we're working on. So a few of us we all have like 2 hats, and some of us have a business hat. For me, it's HR and management. And then, Ramsey, it's finance, and Jacqueline, it's finance. And then we've got marketing with Michelle and Gary. And so we're all going to put those hats on too.
Mhm.
And we're going to put a spiritual spin on that and bring that in so that we give you that compassionate way to run a business. So that'll be fun.
Maybe we'll even do some marketing with human design. We'll see. I haven't quite figured it out yet.
That would be fun.
That'd be really cool.
And I think we should probably put together some abundance classes for the new year. So stay tuned for those. Candle magic is always a popular one, so we'll do that one again. And I think Ramsey is still planning on teaching some mediumship stuff, so that'll be fun. Ruth is going to do essential oil stuff. We have a holistic nutritionist who's going to do some nutrition classes, so stay tuned for that. So yeah, it's a packed year. There's so much coming. So we're so excited. It's an amazing group of people. I'm just so blessed to have these wonderful human beings on the team for Twillow Lifestyle. And it's and I'm super blessed to call them my friends as well. So it's awesome. And we have one more joining the team. We just need to finalize some stuff. So that'll be fun too, with some sacred play.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. So we want to wish you all a fabulous holiday, no matter what that is for you. Celebrate everyone's. That's the way to be. We want to celebrate and raise the joy, raise the vibration,
raise the love,
and find that inner peace. And it can be a beautiful time of year if we can look at it that way. And for everyone who is not feeling that, we send you so much love, much love and light to all of you. Have an awesome 3 weeks. We'll be back in 3 weeks, or is it 4? 3 weeks, I think.
3 weeks.
Because we're off for 2. So 3 weeks.
So week of the 9th? Is that the 9th? January 9th?
Mm-hmm. Which I think it is the 9th. So we will see you back here at 5 o'clock on January 9th. And in the meantime, where can we reach you, Jen?
Twillow. You can find me on any of Tanys' sites there, or you can find me at myholisticself.com, myholisticselfcounseling.com, or at Holistic Self Counseling on Facebook.
Awesome. You can reach me through the Twillow Lifestyle community. And we do have our membership site open as well. So just as a heads up for that, we're going to have lots of new content coming in the new year. And I'm doing another podcast tonight, actually. It's one called A Bridge to the Galaxy, as my galactic ambassadorship role with the Alliance for Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Contact. We're doing our first show, Bridge to the Galaxy, with our guest tonight is Sylvain Rochon. So please join us. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk about exopolitics, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. And so we're going to talk about exopolitics. We're going to talk about an embassy, all sorts of stuff like that. So join me tonight. It'll be a fun show.
Awesome.
So wishing you tons of love, everyone. Lots of love, great holidays, and much peace.